Thank you. And now the word is on Professor Alfredo Hernández from IBEI.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here today. And I would like to start by thanking all of you for listening to the speech, and Laura, Jacinth, and all of IBEI for this invitation. So when I was asked to prepare the speech, this ended up being a much more personal question than I initially thought, because after 4 years in this institution, I feel like I'm also graduating, since this is my last year. And I was not really sure where to begin, so I thought back at my own graduation ceremony, not that long ago, I might add. And the rector at the time urged us to go out and change the world. And I thought, well, that's great advice. And then I thought about it a little bit more and realized, well, maybe it's not such great advice, right? Because at the end of the day, it opens up a lot of questions. Change it to what? Change it how? Have I changed the world? How could I know? And a bit disillusioned with this, I turned to the loving and embracing arms of ChatGPT, and with a simple prompt, I had before me a fairly decent speech, and I found myself agreeing with many of the elements there. Things like the world needs leaders with both intellect and heart, that uncertainty should be embraced as an opportunity for growth, and many other valuable pieces of wisdom. And I thought to myself, well, rather than being relieved at the opportunity of getting something else out of my to-do list, I was left a bit worried, because if AI can produce such a compelling narrative so cheaply, then what do I bring to the table? And this became especially more worrisome when I thought about my own prompt for producing this speech, which was, well, what does it mean to study at a place like IBEI? After all, here we have trained you on many different texts, theories, articles on evidence, and a long series of etc., some code, and yet ChatGPT or any AI has read them all and more. So what sets apart a graduate in the social sciences from IBEI or from anywhere else from someone who has access to the internet and curiosity about the world that we live in? What does it mean to study social sciences in this age of AI that may very well just be beginning? Now, before we get into buyer's remorse, I'd like to argue that artificial intelligence, or AI, has always been with us. The only difference is that now it is being produced by machines instead of unenthused and bored humans. Now, there are many aspects to AI, and we've discussed them a lot, but I want to draw your attention to one specific one, which is that it is artificial. And by this, I don't mean false or unnatural, but rather that AI and its products are inauthentic. And I occasionally find myself saying things just because they sound right, without much reflection, and I think I'm not alone in this. I think it's a very tempting thing to do. So, an IBEI graduate is not set apart because they have more knowledge about the world we live in than anyone else, or because you may be able to produce conjectures about this world that are more likely to pan out. Rather, a graduate understands where worldviews come from and why some resonate more than others. And this why, as I'm sure that you will recall, is the hardest question that we can ask, because it requires an understanding of meaning, a type of understanding that needs to be both understood and, in a way, felt. Now, in getting you to this point, we've asked an immensely difficult thing from you. In literature and cinema, authors and directors ask you to suspend your disbelief in the narrative that they're producing so that you get lost in it. in this web of relationships of cause and effects and in the lives of characters. That's such a natural thing for the human mind to do. And yet here we have asked you to do the opposite. We've asked you to suspend belief in yourself and in your own worldviews to see if these these relations of cause and effect that you assume govern the world and society actually hold true if we look at it more closely. Now, this is a very difficult ask that we've done, or that we've imposed on you. It's looking in the mirror, saying, I was wrong, potentially, but that's okay, and meaning it. Now, this is something that we ask of, that other programs asks of student of biology or other natural sciences. Yet, looking at a bird and asking why it flies is a qualitatively different question than looking at our fellow humans and asking why they suffer. These tools of science, the hypotheses, the operationalization, and all of that are a lot heavier when we use them on things that are much closer to our hearts. And no one, and I do mean no one, gets through life without false assumptions. So change is, wanting to change the world, going back to this original prompt, is something very human and very natural. And I think all of you came here with this idea. And it is a very natural thing with good reason. The world indeed does need changing. But mercifully, no one changes the world alone. This would be too heavy a burden to place on anyone, and you've suffered enough already. So I will not urge you to go out and change the world, because I believe that you already, perhaps unwittingly have, and I am certain that you will continue to do so. Change is, for better or worse, inevitable. Everything changes, and yet there's nothing new under the sun. Some things tend to stick. Attention has always been a valuable thing. It is perhaps our most reliable metric of value itself. Therefore, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the attention that you've given us throughout your studies. And I do hope that what you've learned here will help you give AI a run for its money in the future. So, without any meaningful advice to give you, I can just urge you to wear sunscreen, since it is Barcelona after all, and to go celebrate. Thank you very much.